You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
Go. All right, let's get after day 3 of our coverage here at Stadium Swim ahead of the NHL Draft. The big day is here. It's Nick Alberga Jay Rosehill. What's going on, Rosie?
I have a little bit of FOMO right now, looking at you in the sun with the tunes going, with your fancy shirt on, the pool behind you. A little bit jealous, my man. How's it going down there?
Going well. It's great to be with you. Also looking forward, obviously, to the draft. I had a chance to attend the awards last night. First and foremost, got to tell our friends over at Circa and Stadium Swim, what a setup the last couple days. You see the big board behind me. This is the ultimate destination for anything. It's like a sports fan's dream to come to Stadium Swim. I'm sure down the road, Rosie, will come here together, have a good time, do some more shows here. But yeah, all in all, it's been a great time. I can't believe the big day is here, and I can't believe it's still been relatively quiet on the Maple Leafs front, eh?
I know, dude. Like, we're doing this show, and I'm just like, give me something, man. Give me something. I'm so tired of the back and forth rumors. Marner's gonna sign. He's not gonna sign. They're going to make a deal for him. They're going to offer him this. And then it's like, Bertuzzi wants to be here. They're going to lose him. He's going to test free agency. He might be. It's like, God, just do something in concrete. Please, please. We're dying for some action.
Yeah, I hear you. It's like days of our lives with the Mitch Marner saga. And I guess the information coming out today from Elliot Friedman that they're preparing an offer for Marner. I hope it's fucking like 8 times 8. There's your offer. It's not going to work for me. Okay, we're going to trade you. But yes, we are going to talk a bit more about Mitch Marner coming up later on. Want to tee up my main man, Irfaan Gaffar, here of the Nation Network, covers the Vancouver Canucks very in-depthly, also covers the rest of the league, is already on set. He's in the bullpen catching some strays and some sun, and he's going to drop by in about 25 from here. We'll get his thoughts. An outsider's perspective on Mitch Marner is actually pretty damn cool because I'm exhausted of opinion at this point, Rosie.
I know. I think we kind of know where most people stand in this market. It kind of goes without saying, but it is nice to get someone, especially in a Canadian market, outside perspective, opinion, guy from the Western Conference who just says what is going on over there in the East in the Toronto Maple Leafs land with Mitch Marner. I'm sure everyone knows kind of the saga, but it's interesting to get someone else's take on what they think it would be like if they were to move him or extend him and where their viewpoint comes from someone from the outside perspective.
Irf's always got hot takes. They fucking hate the Toronto Maple Leafs of Vancouver, so this is going to be fantastic. We're going to get certainly his perspective on Mitch Marner and the Maple Leafs moving forward, and also look around the league. Lots transpiring as we get closer and closer to the NHL Draft. From Sphere, looking forward to seeing the venue. Was at Fontainebleau, as mentioned last night for the awards. That was the big question I wanted to ask you on today's show, because monitoring social media a bit last night, you were tuned into a certain debate. So did you have a chance to watch any of the NHL awards?
I never did, to be honest. I went up to, I couldn't really find it, and everything was all debate driven. And I sat there and watched the debate front to back, man. I thought that
How was it, bud? I missed it. How was it? What did I miss?
It was absolutely wild. I mean, I liked the platform where it's like you get a good chunk of time to respond. You can't interrupt each other. It's not like it turns into, just a jumble. On microphones, obviously we do this, and it can be an absolute gong show, especially when you got two adversaries going at it. But their mics were muted when it wasn't their turn to talk. But it just turned into an absolute mudslinging fest. It was just, I did this and I did this. No, you didn't. I did this. He's lying. I did this. And it was an absolute gong show. I couldn't believe my eyes. They were ripping each other over their handicaps. They'll have a long drive competition. I've seen your swing. It was an absolute gong show. And I don't know. Personally, I've been watching Joe Biden fumble around like he's a zombie for 3 years. And then after CNN finished the debate, they just started ripping him apart. Like they were so shocked that he was in declining, mental state. And it was just such a setup to get him removed. But I don't know. I know it's American politics, but it has a lot effect on our lives up in Canada, as we are, very well influenced by that country.
Yeah.
So I tuned in for that on my Thursday night, but it was a historic gong show, if you ask me.
Well, great to hear that. There's a reason why we're rapidly ascending into the #1 Leafs podcast in the world, because we'll give you takes on fucking anything. So thank you for bringing that. Again, I was at the awards last night. Austin Matthews looking dapper. I actually enjoyed the comedian Matt Friend who hosted it. I know some people disagreed, but I thought the venue was pretty damn cool. Who's who of the hockey world was there. And I thought the host hit it because he really, really zoned in on the lack of personality or exuberance from NHL players, and it was almost like a rib the entire show. And it was quick, it was concise, loud luxury, local product of obviously to our parts from London, Ontario played, so that was great to see. But I thought it was really cool. I think the right guys won. I'll be honest, frank in saying I won some money last night, winning a couple tickets. Nathan McKinnon, I was the only guy over at dailyfaceoff.com to pick McKinnon preseason to win the Hart Trophy, and a hit last night. But it was kind of cool to see.
Yeah, I like it. That's interesting watching the awards. I don't know. For some reason, I just don't get too jacked up. It's kind of like clap, clap, obviously. Clap, clap, obviously. And it is what it is. It's kind of neat. But yeah, I don't know. I chose to go away from hockey last night, apparently.
Hey, but
I checked up and brushed up on who won what, and it didn't seem like there were too many large surprises or anything. You just see the greatest players in the National League that year go up and get their award that everyone assumed they were going to get. I think that's why I don't get too excited about it.
Yeah, you didn't miss much, to be honest about it. Earlier today, the top 6 for the 4 nations rosters came out today. Unsurprisingly, Austin Matthews named to Team USA, and Willie Stalls, William Nylander to Sweden. Mitch Marner not in the initial 6 for Canada. Your thoughts?
Yeah, you look at it. There's some depth, man. A lot of good young players. It's not going to be a year where Canada just dominates, man. I mean, Finland could bloody well, get together, and I think it's more often than not the team that comes together and plays. It's not always the most stacked roster, so maybe that could go in Canada's favor, kind of being almost an underdog. But those things are always, pretty wild, and it just depends if you can get that group of players who are all alphas, right, to play together and accept different roles and whatnot and play with different players and not be the big dog, which every one of those guys on the team is kind of used to being. So I think it's going to be interesting. I just love how they're doing it in general, and we get to see kind of some best on best hockey, which it seems like it's been a while since that has been the case.
Oh, man, we've been robbed of that. I am hot and horny to see McDavid play with McKinnon, play with Crosby, Makar on that sheet, man. That the rosters are going to be electric. Like, I'm more of an Olympics guy. I'm looking forward to that in a couple of years in obviously Italy. But this 4 nations should be a nice little teaser. And again, for hockey fans that have been deprived of these type of rosters, I think it's going to be fun from that perspective. But I think you hit the nail on the head. It doesn't matter. It's very similar to the NHL. You can be like the New York Rangers last year after the deadline, where I thought they were so stacked and primed and ready for something. But it's all about chemistry. Let's talk about chem, Rosie. I mean, a lot of chem back in your days when it came to the various teams you played for, right? It's huge.
Yeah, I mean, especially with those all-star things and those Olympic things, you can look at the roster, but it's like, that's awesome. I mean, every roster is pretty much full of talent, some more than others, but are they going to play together? Are they going to, do they gel? Like, was one guy just holding on to the puck, or can he find that guy? Or are they used to playing with different players? It depends if it gels or not, and if they come together as a team and not individuals, blah, blah, all that stuff. So it'll be interesting. But I was looking over the NHL awards, and they had like first team all-star, second team all-star. And Connor McDavid is not on the first team all-star. I was kind of like, what? That kind of jumped out to me as like, can you imagine being that guy and looking? It's like, oh, I couldn't crack the first team. Like, I don't think he's been in that spot very much in his life.
Man, it's absolute fatigue. That's all I can attribute that to. It's come to mind as well. Did you watch the NBA draft last night?
I did not. I did. So did they just do the first round yesterday or what?
No, the first round was on Wednesday. The only reason why I ask you, because your favorite NBA player of all time, LeBron James, his kid went to the Los Angeles Lakers.
I did see that. I was watching on Instagram, like him shoot around and stuff. He looks ridiculously good at basketball. Obviously, he's got good DNA. Hopefully, he's a more well-rounded person than his father, and he has a little bit of ability to lose the conceited arrogance that he leads with every single day. So we'll keep an eye on that guy. I'm sure he'll be in the news with his career starting off right now.
What is nepotism is my first question. And number 2, again, another prime reason why you tune into this Leafs podcast. I mean, the 3 takes you want in life: Rosie's take on Mitch Marner, number 1, his take on Johnny Gaudreau, number 2, and just his utter disdain for LeBron James. Remember day 1 we did this show? You just sounded off on LeBron for some reason. I thought that was funny.
Well, when a guy's got gifted child tattooed across his chest and the chosen one tattooed across his back, it's a pretty easy target.
Fair enough. I should know too, Irf's beside me. He is a massive Los Angeles Lakers fan, so maybe I'll jump into that with Irf coming up. Rosie, we're giving away 2 pairs of tickets to the Born and Raised concert series in St. Catharines, Ontario, happening next weekend. July 6th and 7th. So here's how you can win. Headlining the event, by the way, City in Color, Alexis on Fire, Metric, and The U's. So to be eligible to win, hit us up at lmt@thenationnetwork.com. That's lmt@thenationnetwork.com. The question to be eligible to win, which team was Jay Rosehill drafted by way back when in 2003? I thought it was 1993 or 1983, but 2003, which team was Jay Rosehill drafted by? LMT@thenationnetwork.com. We'll randomly select the winners, announce them on next Wednesday's show, man. I can't believe free agency is on Monday, and we're going to settle off into the sunset. We're not going to do as many shows. I think we're still 3 times a week, at least for the first half of July here.
Yeah, we'll bang off some shows, no question.
Yeah.
But as people get a little busy, you take a break from hockey. I'm a big proponent of that. I want the hunger to be there in the fall. I was kind of like that as a player. I'm like that with my kids. I'm like that with my own, following of it. It's nice to get a little break, get to the lake, get some sun, go water skiing, go golfing, do your thing. And when the fall comes, you are absolutely chomping at the bit for some hockey content. So we're following that on LMT. But rest assured, if anything goes down or news is broken, we will be right there to break it down for everybody.
Yeah, so I guess our next show after today will be on July 1st. I believe we'll get together around 3 Eastern time, something like that, after the Daily Face-Off Live free agency special, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern time. Tyler Remchuk, NHL insider Frank Saravelli, as well as former NHLers Carter Hutton and Colby Cohen will have you covered on everything that's transpired. By the sounds of it, a lot of free agents, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, have already made their decisions. So I'm sure there'll be a lot coming out of the Maple Leafs camp. It sounds like Chris Tanev could be a guy they're zoning in on. We're going to talk about a couple of those names coming up later on with Irf as well. But catch all the action live on July 1st from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Should mention as well, Rosie, if you're watching right now at the Leafs Nation 401, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, Leafs Morning Take, wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. The opening segment is brought to you by Greta Bar YYZ. For a good time, find Greta, 590 King Street West, weekly specials, live sports, over 60-plus arcade games. Let the games begin. Go big. Go to Greta Bar YYZ, Rosie. As we inch closer to round 1 of the NHL draft, as mentioned off the top, very quiet from the Maple Leafs front. What do you think the first domino is to fall with this franchise this weekend? I think it's somebody getting re-signed.
Yeah. Who are you looking at?
I think it's going to be Domi. It's kind of, and I think you bring unique perspective to the show, obviously, because you've been behind the scenes, you've been a player, and you know what negotiations are like. It's funny, and we laughed about it to start the show, the back and forth, right, in the media, and the media is used. Let's be honest about this. But Domi and Bertuzzi, the narrative the last couple days alone has flip-flopped back and forth. Now it sounds like Tyler Bertuzzi will do anything. He is desperate to remain a Toronto Maple Leaf. So we're going to find out at least in the next couple days here.
Yeah, those two guys are standing out. It seems like lately, if you want to get on the rumor train and stuff, that he is interested very much so, more than we thought, in staying in Toronto, and he's willing to take a little bit less AAV or term, or just maybe shave a little bit to get something done. And I sympathize with that sentiment. Like, if you get a house and a family and your wife and she's got friends, and it's like, yeah, we could go for X amount of little bit more here, there, but is that worth it to us to go to a place with a lot of question marks, a lot of unknowns? It's a huge deal to uproot your whole bloody life. You got to fly there, pack some shit. Oh, we got stuff in a storage container. Like, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be said for, I don't have to do anything crazy in the middle of, my training season and trying to make, my season productive as far as getting ready for the actual season, the off season. And, to stay put and know where you're going to be and stay in Toronto, where he obviously likes it, and make another run. There's a lot of positive things about being there and staying put. So it'd be nice to get a deal done with him and Domi as well. So we'll see where that goes. Sounds like someone's bumping in the background there for you.
Yeah, never underestimate the PR war. That's all I'll say on both fronts. I don't know what to believe. The latest, I believe, from Chris Johnston about Max Domi is that he's looking for something around 4x4, 4x4. So maybe something comes to fruition either today or leading up to free agency. Again, if you still had to guess, and my speculation alone, I think Domi is more likely to return than Tyler Bertuzzi. But the thing with this, Rosie, is like there's so many moving parts. Like, I mean, we're not going to come out here and say Mitch Marner's going to be dealt today, but if they're sort of setting the table for that, what does that mean from the cap allotment standpoint for the Maple Leafs moving forward? But yeah, I still think Domi makes more sense to bring back. Do you?
Yeah, kind of. If you look, his production wasn't exactly like as high as it was in Chicago. And he's surrounded with better pieces here, you would think, but he had no sniff on the power play. So there's some
Yeah.
moving parts and some ways to look at it. But I just think with how this team wants to play and what their identity wants to be, I think he fits the mold. And yeah, some people would say, well, if his dad wasn't a beloved Leaf, like we just look at him like another player and not really even think or care if he comes back or not. And I'm like, well, hold on. Domi on the back of a Leafs jersey is neat, no doubt about it. But I think just his attitude and his willingness to compete, and he gets the media. He doesn't seem to shy away and roll his eyes every time. There's a lot of people and microphones around. He's like, yeah, he's happy to be there, and he loves being a Leaf. And I really think he'd go through a wall to win on that team, which is more than I can say for some players in the past that have played for this and they're, what they show on the ice. I think he's willing to do whatever it takes, and I think that he'll be a good addition to Chief Berube's mentality and how he wants that team to operate. So him in particular, I think would be nice to get back, just because we know what we're getting. We know where his head's at and how his attitude towards the Leafs is.
I think there's going to be a resolution there on Domi. I think they've gone too far down the road. There's the friendship, or I mean the relationship, I guess we can say, with Craig Berube. I think Max Domi, what he brought to the table in the Stanley Cup playoffs, this is not a dig. I saw more in Max Domi in 7 games than some players I've seen in 8 years. That concerns me. And just he's cut from a different cloth. Just I like his versatility. I love what he brings to the table. I love the edge that he plays with. I think he really found his identity in the second half of the season, and I want more of Max Domi. And I think, honestly, he's probably at this point, as you referenced, looking for a bit of stability in his career after the different destinations he's been the last couple of years. So I wouldn't be shocked if that happens. I'll be honest in saying, like, the one thing that is concerning from my perspective is the crease. I feel like this time next year, wherever we are for the draft, whether maybe it's in Edmonton or Detroit or something like that, we're going to be talking about the crease again, where at this point, again, maybe I'm wrong in reading this situation. It looks like the Leafs are going to sign somebody. If it's not Anthony Stolarz, who is the backup for the Florida Panthers, it's going to be Laurent Brossoit, and they've been linked to him for a couple of weeks now. And I just don't think if that pairing with Joseph Woll is good enough to be, my mind, thinking that they're a legitimate contender moving forward. And it just shows you how hard it is to find a bona fide stud. But the reason why I bring it up is another name is looking like it's going to be off the board. UC Saros, who we've talked about quite a bit this season, sounds like he's going to sign an extension on July 1st on Monday. 8-year contract, about 7 3/4 is the projection from Elliot Friedman. So your thoughts on Saros re-upping in Nashville, Rosie?
Yeah, just another piece off the table, which
Yeah.
you just throw things around and see how things would fit. But once guys start signing, then that's something you're no longer juggling around in your mind. And
Yeah.
my kind of fear for this draft and free agency in July is that nothing really happens and people keep getting yanked off of the board, and the opportunities and potential pickups are just getting thinner and thinner and thinner. And then we're looking around going, well, what the hell is this team going to be? And who is going to bring them to where we all want them to go as pieces keep getting picked off? Like, that's my biggest fear. And I think it's quite possible that happens, right? It's hard to make deals. And again, there's just this big looming cloud of Mitch Marner. And if he's staying, it makes the team look very different. If he's leaving, it makes the team look drastically different. And I've been clear on where I sit on that, but it would be nice if we could be one of those teams that's making the moves and that's breaking the news and making a splash. And all of a sudden, like, we know that this team has a lot of good pieces and potential, but to make a splash and to say, oh boy, and to get everyone all horned up and be like, what is this going to be like? Then training camp, all of a sudden, the way Berube coaches and demands the mentality of his players. And if you got a real nice rounded off roster that looks mighty different, but also still has your Nylanders and your Austin Matthews and whatnot, is very exciting. And I just really want them to get there where they're the guys that are making the splash and everyone has excitement about it and everyone's watching and can't wait to see what this thing turns into. I want that so much more than, oh my God, we're not going to be any different this year. Oh my God, what did we even change? Why did we let this guy go? How come we didn't get in the fight with this guy? And I just don't want that. I want the former.
What's your honest assessment? Is this more about the crease, or is this more about the Maple Leafs solidifying their blue line, or is it somewhere in between?
I think you need two right-handed shooting defensemen, and they're out there. Like, it's not like they're getting, it's not like they're just getting re-signed left, right, and everyone's off the board. There's potential stud right-handers. We've gone through those guys with the Tanevs and the Montours and the Waz. And is it Roy or Wah? I can't even
Roy.
Yeah, Roy.
Yeah.
There's guys out there that make sense. In the crease, I'm looking at Brossoit because I think that he's kind of always had to play second fiddle, but he could have been that big star guy. And I think he's chomping at the bit to say, all right, world, you have always been second fiddle to these guys that are world beaters. And now it's time for me to step up and be like, just so you know, I'm a number one guy too. And him and Woolsey can battle for number one, and whoever wants to be the cream of the crop, it doesn't really matter to me, but at least you have those two options. And also with injuries and whatnot, you've got a capable backup. But to me, it's that more than say Stoli. I love Stoli. I played with Stolars. I just think Brossoit is a better fit with the situation in Toronto right now.
Yeah, I think at this point, if you're to ask me, I think it's going to be Laurent Brossoit. Never put the idea out of a trade. I just don't know if Brossoit is going to be that. Like, I look at him as another Jonathan Bernier. It's another what if. And I understand it's so difficult, but there has been goaltenders out here. I know Ullmark didn't want to come to Toronto. I don't think the Leafs are ever going to be able to trade with Calgary, with Tree in the mix. So the options were limited. I just wanted
Why is that?
I don't know, man. We should ask RJ, who's on set behind the scenes here. But yeah, there's some bad blood or animosity there. And it seems like the Leafs would have to outpay everybody to get Markstrom or anybody from Calgary.
That's so annoying. Like, it started off with them not allowing him to be on the floor of the draft, like such a kindergarten FU to Tree Living.
Really
like,
is.
what are you trying to prove with that? It's just such a stupid, meaningless, extra little middle finger to Tree Living. And now everyone just automatically just, wow, you can't deal with Calgary. Why can't you deal with Calgary? Like, what's the deal with that? It drives me nuts because there's a lot of potential with Toronto and their rebuild, and they're, stripping it down and getting picks and unloading guys. And, Tree Living knows these guys intimately. There's not a lot of question marks. So it's like, well, it'd be perfect to work with them, but apparently not a lot. It's just the stupidest thing I've ever heard. It drives me nuts when potential players and swaps and trades and signings or whatever could be with a team that makes a lot of sense. But, we can't because we have this little freaking high school riff.
Yeah, that's exactly my thinking. If you can get somebody you like, what does it matter if there's previous animosity or whatever you want to call it? But yeah, it just doesn't seem like Calgary wants to play with Toronto, unfortunately. And obviously there's a familiarity with Tree in Calgary, and he knows some of the players. Like, I don't know for certain, but I think Andre Mangiapane would have been another guy that Tree obviously knows really, really well. I don't know if they were involved in that conversation, but certainly on Jacob Markstrom. And the one thing I don't want to hear is the Maple Leafs finishing runner-up on anybody. That's what we heard about Markstrom. It's like, come on. Like, I don't need to know a consolation prize, but I'm sure they're doing a lot of hard work behind the scenes. I'm a little concerned about the crease because I just don't know how much of an upgrade. Talking to a lot of people here, and a lot of people made a good point. Might as well just bring Samsonov back if you're bringing Brossoit in. I just think there's a lot of question marks. Yes, there's a lot of question marks, man. That system in Winnipeg, do not underestimate the job that Rick Bowness did. And I wonder, when it came to Brossoit, how much was it about that system? How much was it about him and some of the matchups he got, with obviously Hellebuck there too?
Well, yeah, it's tough. I don't know him intimately. I haven't watched him a ton, but to hear that some people would want, Sammy back over, a guy who's been there and won the cup and knows what it's like to win, kind of surprises me, to be honest. I think he would be an upgrade, but again, I don't know them intimately. I don't have a problem with Samsonov or anything like that. Just the fact that it was a little bit streaky and he seemed to lose his confidence a lot. His comeback was fantastic, and it was great to see him succeed after such a struggle at certain points of the season. But to go back to him over Brossoit, I don't really buy into that. I can't claim I'm an expert on their careers and the way they play, but I would think that bringing Sammy back would not be preferred over signing this new guy to complement Wall. But again, we'll see what happens, man. It's a big weekend.
Yeah, it is. I got about 5 minutes before we hit the break here and turn things over to Irfaan Gaffar on the other side. But just Mitch Marner, let's lastly touch on that. I'm not sure something's going to transpire at all, specifically over the next couple days. But as mentioned off the top, the latest from Elliot Friedman, he's hearing that the Leafs are preparing an offer for Mitch Marner. I know he talked about this a bit last week, but what would that number be for you? I think you and I are in the same court where it's like I wouldn't even entertain a conversation with the Marner camp first and foremost, but I guess they're going to behind the scenes. What do you think that offer should be for the Maple Leafs?
Should be or would be. I don't know. I'd probably
Like, what's the point of making an offer if you know he wants more than Nylander? That's my question. Like, are you lowballing with an offer? I just don't know PR stand wise, like what this will do to the negotiation process if the Leafs lowball him, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, I think it could be a way of saying how much they value him without having to say
Okay.
we don't value you as much as you want or as much as you think. You give him an offer and just say, Mitch, like with the success that we've had, and I mean, we're a playoff focused team that needs to get better in that department and has high aspirations. And you've been here and you've been part of the failures, so it's not like we're exuberant to like sign everybody back up, and you already know we've got Nylander and Matthews done. So like he's not dumb. It's like where we sit, and we're not gonna pay out the ass for more of the same. Like that, Mitch. So this is kind of where we're at with this number. And I don't know if that's like 9 million or something. And he's just like, what the hell is this? I don't know. Then all of a sudden he's like, hey, then all of a sudden he gets his backup. Okay, screw this. I want out, and I want out, and
Exactly, Rosie.
and
Exactly
I
what I'm
want
saying, man.
to go shove it up their ass somewhere else. Try to get me in the Eastern Conference. I'll play against them and I'll score 100 times and do my big selly, and he'll get that little attitude going. And then it's like, yeah, put a deal together on these teams because these ones are shit. He's got that power. Here, and here is what I like. Get on the phone with that bullshit offer you just gave me, and I'm out of here, and you're gonna regret it. That could be his attitude. That's what I want his attitude to be.
Yes, I think again, there's a lot of politicking behind the scenes. This is just part of it. We could look down the road and be like, hey, Mitch Marner was dealt, and this was a significant day in the process, because anybody who has been through negotiations work-wise, yeah, it's great to get a fucking offer. Is it anywhere close to what I'm thinking of accepting is the question, right? And I think from the Maple Leafs perspective, like the Marner, the formal offer you're going to make to Marner, I'm just more intrigued with that if it's going to leak, right? It's one thing to make an offer, but it's another thing to even be close in the ballpark of what he's looking for. And by all accounts, the starting point is going to be the Nylander contract.
Yeah, I've been there before where you're hoping there's this, and you think you're on the same page. This number comes up and you're like gulp, and your heart your stomach drops, and instantly upon processing a number on a piece of paper, you think completely differently of this place. All of a sudden, we're not friends anymore. All of a sudden, we're not on the same team anymore. All of a sudden, I'm rethinking every conversation we've had. I'm thinking about your outlook on me is not what I thought, and it's lower than I thought. And whether you're just chucking a number out there, playing the game or not, you can change a lot about a person's perception of where he stands within your organization just by making him an offer that might be a little bit lower than maybe he thinks it should be. All of a sudden, boom, the wheels are turning for we are no longer on the same team.
All I'll say, I'm going to rush home tomorrow. I think my Jay Rosehill Arizona Coyotes jersey is coming in the mail. That's there's a backstory to that. You're almost a Coyote back in the day, right?
Yeah, I was pretty close. Biz Nasty ended up there instead. But if I got put on waivers before Bizanet, I was like told, guarantee I'm picking you up. And he just said, whoever's on waivers first. And that's when I made the team on the Maple Leafs out of training camp. And Biz got sent down from Pittsburgh, and he got picked up from Arizona, and the rest is history with what he did in Arizona and how he took off with his brand and everything. Good for him. I certainly don't think I was in a spot to make the noise that he did down there with Twitter and the like. So it all worked out just fine and dandy. But yeah, things start happening. Oh, and there was a different one with Arizona.
Yeah, that's why I thought you were going to share it. You don't have to say the whole story, but.
Yeah, never mind. Late in my career, I had a deal on paper. Chayka, he was like a 28-year-old general manager, and I was like 32 years old. I'm like, holy, this is weird. But he gives us an offer, gives us the weekend to think about it. We start looking around the area and everything, and Monday morning, we'll accept the offer. And he goes, oh shit, yeah, I forgot about that. We we stayed in house and they re-signed the guy that was already there. And my agent was just like, I've never seen anything like this in my life. So that was kind of a funny dealing with the Coyotes, but I was almost part of their organization. Yes.
Yeah, still waiting for John Chaika to get another job in this league. No strays there. Rosie, excellent job today, bud. Killed it. Looking forward to the draft, and I'm sure we'll talk soon, bud.
Well, I still got FOMO looking at you there, buddy. Good luck. Have fun. We'll be down there together next time.
There it is, the one and only Jay Rosehill. We're going to hit the break. The other side, the Nation Network's Irfaan Gaffar for a scene setter here from Sin City at Stadium Swim. Don't go anywhere. Happy to be joined by my main man, Irfaan Gaffar from out in Vancouver here with the Nation Network and Canucks Army. What's going on, buddy?
What's going on? What's good?
So who got you in touch with the Leafs show to come on a Leafs show?
It was our fearless leader, but hey man, I show no what's the word I'm looking for?
Mercy or allegiance?
No mercy. Yeah, I have no allegiance.
Yeah,
no allegiance to anybody.
You do a great job covering the entire league, and there's different pathways we can go with this conversation. Obviously, tremendous ties to the Vancouver market, and there's a couple of Canucks defense and the Leafs could be looking at here, right?
Nikita Zadorov?
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think that's an interesting one. I think Patrick Allvin is speaking to the media right now in Vegas. So it's interesting. You know, he chose to do a media conference and had the other guy signed earlier this week, but Zadorov was still the one. I'm not fully closed on that. Something can obviously happen, but it's definitely trending in the direction of Nikita Zadorov hitting under open market. And yeah, the Leafs are probably interested, as are, you know, you look at teams like the Bruins, you look at other teams that have a lot of money to spend right now. Utah was an interesting one as well. So it's going to be interesting because he's going to get what he wants. Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing, right?
Do you think when Zadorov signs, whether it's with Vancouver or anybody else, he's going to get overpaid by our eyes at least?
I think recency bias definitely is the case when you look at it, to be completely honest. I mean, he's a guy that's probably commanding $5 million on a 6-year deal.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure the Canucks are willing to do that based on where he fits on their blue line.
Like, that's wild to me.
Yeah, as a 5'6" defenseman getting paid that much money. So,
but how much about that is the cap, do you think, going up?
I mean, I think, yeah, but I also think that, you know, he's a guy or where he is in his age and he's looking to get paid, right? You look at a lot of these guys that are 29, 30, 31, 32 years old. They want term and they want their money. This is their last chance to get a big contract. Zadorov's also moved around a lot in his career. So hopefully he's going to find a place that, you know, he and his family think is going to be home for the next little bit and be able to sign a deal.
Look, I don't doubt this for a second, but let's not lose sight of the fact that this is Toronto, a very polarizing market. There's a reason every fucking free agent, like the Leafs have been linked to every free agent, including Jake Gensel, I think, at this point.
Oh, the Leafs should be, right?
Yeah.
The Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
I mean, if the Toronto Maple Leafs aren't in or aren't interested or talking to someone, then they're not doing their job, right? So Brad Treliving is gonna do a job to try and improve his hockey team. I think there's no secret that he needs to improve the hockey team. I don't think things are too close between them and Domi and Bertuzzi right now. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I mean, look, if you've heard, not that I'm reporting, but if you're going to hear Stamkos' name when it goes out there, right?
Yeah.
You're going to hear every single name linked to the Toronto Maple Leafs just because it's the Leafs. So I know people watching this that are Leafs fans are saying, yeah, you don't know what you're talking about. You're full of shit. But it's the Leafs. Like, they're going to be in on everybody because of who they are.
You're in touch with the underworld, if you will, with agents. They use the Maple Leafs sometimes, no?
I think a lot of agents have been using a lot of teams, especially this year.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of talk going around left, right, and center. Agents using other teams to drive up the price of their client, and teams using agents to help out, you know, themselves in certain situations. So it's just the way the market is now. It's a different ball game than it used to be years ago, right? So before it was get the deal, it's signed, sealed, and delivered. That's it. Now there's third-team parties involved. There's rumors here and there. There's a guy sitting having dinner at Cactus Club with someone. Like, there's a bunch of shit going on.
They don't sponsor our show,
so
we can't mention the name. No, I'm kidding. It's funny you say that too, because like even we had David Perron on a couple weeks ago. The guy jumped at the opportunity to come on the Leafs show, even though he was like technically property of the Detroit Red Wings. Like, I think people use the Leafs to the advantage, but I think Perron's another guy. I wanted to ask you about a defenseman specifically with ties. Obviously, somebody you know, and Chris Tanev would make a lot of sense for this team too.
Yeah, I think it's pretty quiet around Chris Tanev right now. I think the Dallas Stars wanted to try and get something done there. I'm not entirely sure if they're going to be able to make it work. The Leafs is interesting, and the Canucks are interesting, right? Obviously, the ties to the Vancouver Canucks, but Tanev's another guy. Like we talked about players wanting term. He's going to want term, and he's probably going to get it. You know, if the Leafs are wanting, or the Vancouver Canucks are wanting to give this guy a 5 or 6 year deal at a low AAV, do you do it? I'm not entirely sure. Some people watching this show might agree with that because of where he is and just his health and the question of that during the regular season. But by all accounts, Chris Tanev is an absolute warrior in the playoffs, right? The guy eats pucks for a living. He's definitely made a career doing that. So there's going to be suitors for him no matter what. I think that the Stars are trying to get something done, but as of this morning, actually, things remain pretty quiet around him.
Fair enough. And I wanted to bring you on for a variety of reasons, but an outsider's perspective is always good. We're going to get to Mitch Marner, but just when you view the Maple Leafs, and I said this earlier on with Rosie, the crease scares the shit out of me. Like, Joseph Woll is good, but He can't stay healthy, and they're going to bring in somebody. They've struck out on a couple guys. It looks like they're going to go free agency wise and route, and maybe it's Laurent Brossoit. Is this more about D, in your opinion, and them solidifying the blue line, or more about the crease, or is it somewhere in between?
I mean, at the end of the day, your goalie is the last line of defense.
True.
And you're going to need him to stop pucks at some point.
Yeah.
You look at all the teams that have, recently won Stanley Cups. They got a pretty good goalie, right? I mean, Aiden Hill caught fire for the Vegas Golden Knights the other year, but Sergei Bobrovsky, maybe not the best goalie in the regular season, but in the playoffs, he comes to play. So for the Leafs, it's always been goalie. Like, that's their Achilles heel. There was so much talk about the defense and things like that. You go, you get Brody, you have Morgan Riley, you beef up and get a guy like Joel Edmondson last season. So it is about the goalie. I think that's something that Brad Treliving desperately, wants to improve on. And there's a reason why Jacobs Markstrom's name was also linked to the Toronto Maple Leafs, right? For all that time. But obviously, he's with the New Jersey Devils now. Yeah,
that's a pretty good deal. I think the Devils got a good deal there and got a good goaltender. And certainly, I think you bring up a unique point, because I think people look at Edmonton and are like, oh, Stuart Skinner, a.k.a. Corey Crawford, they're 1 win away from winning a Stanley Cup. You reference Aiden Hill. Rosie keeps bringing up that Laurent Brossoit won a Stanley Cup. He got hurt in that playoffs. He didn't win a Stanley Cup. He was like the
still won.
Yeah, I guess he still won. Phil Kessel's got 18
Yeah.
cups then, right? But I think for me, to answer my own question, it's somewhere in between. I think your D is important, but the one thing I really noticed, having a chance to obviously cover the Cup final this year, was getting timely saves. And especially watching Game 7, the Joseph Wall news hits. I knew the Leafs were doomed as soon as that happened. They couldn't get the saves at the opportune time, and that's the biggest thing for me.
Well, I think that's obviously what it is, right?
Yeah.
Goalie's your last line of defense. You're up 2-1 in a hockey game with 2 minutes to go in the third period. You're going to need your goalie. The team's going to pull it for an extra attacker, especially in the playoffs, right? So these are the things that you look at and you want to shore up. But sometimes it doesn't need to be a superstar goalie, right? It doesn't need to be one of those guys that's nominated for the Vezina. You just need, like you mentioned, timely saves and a guy that you can trust. I think dependability is a huge thing. I think that, when your defense and your forwards don't have confidence in your goaltender, that also hurts.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that for a lot of the time here, the Leafs, the defense and the forward group didn't really know what they were going to get on any given night from their goaltenders. So you hope that something changes over this summer, and you hope you can try and definitely get something to work there.
And I think even watching the Cup final, Sergei Bobrovsky, the timeliness, I thought Game 7, he made some monster stops and said, this is not going to happen for the Edmonton Oilers perspective. Now, naturally, the biggest conversation in this market right now, Mitch Marner. Outsider's perspective, I'd love to know. We've been debating this for, 54 days since Game 7 against the Boston Bruins. Yes, I'm counting. It's been a long-ass time, but what's your position on the whole Mitch Marner conversation?
It's interesting because, as Brad Treliving said, he is a superstar in the National Hockey League. So definitely when you look at it and you look at a guy like Mitch Marner, you want him on your team. Unfortunately, Mitch Marner in the playoffs is a little bit different from Mitch Marner in the regular season.
Yes.
Kind of what Canucks fans found out about Elias Pettersson this past playoffs, right? The guy had a numerous amount of points, can score like hell in the regular season, but was a no-show in the playoffs. And you're going to need those guys to come up big for you in the postseason. So, look, I think that he does end up, staying with the Toronto Maple Leafs here, at least for this season, and then kind of play it out and see what happens there. But definitely a lot of talk. I know that I think Frank Saravalli said there might be a trade or something might happen or this week. I think it's earlier in the week he reported that, but obviously nothing's happened, as of today. Well, right now as we're doing this. So, it would be interesting, but they're going to get the King's ransom for him, right? Because what's the return going to be for a guy like Mitch Marner?
Well, he needs to be signed, right?
Yeah.
I think that's where you're maximizing the return. Optically, it's a tough deal to put together for it to come to fruition. You need sign off, and I'm led to believe we don't know the brunt of the whole conversation in the spotlight, in the media. I'm sure they're done their due diligence behind the scenes. I'm sure the Marner camp has pinpointed. Maybe there's a couple different spots I would go to, but I think this whole conversation about the Leafs being a little petrified, a little worried, maybe is a better word, about what could happen. Nazem Kadri's a perfect example, goes to Colorado, wins a cup. I don't think you can play that way.
No.
But I will say there's a part of me, maybe 1/4 of me, that wonders what Craig Berube can do with Mitch Marner.
Yeah. I mean,
But
you
then-
saw the photo
then
of him
again-
having coffee with him or whatever.
Yeah, but then again, I just thought of it as I asked you. I mean, Rick Tocchet is that type of coach too, and
He's got
Elias Pettersson, he can't get him going in the
Yeah,
playoffs.
I mean, look, I think Berube, if there's anyone that can get that team motivated to want to go to the next level, it's definitely him. I mean, he's a great motivator. He's a guy who players have played for, says that he's an incredible coach. And I think that that's what this team needs, right? I think that, the message maybe from Sheldon Keefe was lost, not only this season, but last season as well. So you definitely look at it on twofold, right? You want him back just to see the what ifs, but if there's a chance that you can get an incredible return for a guy like Mitch Marner, I mean, you have to explore that option.
It's just funny when trades of this magnitude go down, and it's very seldom. Like Dave Pagnotta came on the other day, our mutual friend, and was talking about, like, remember when Calgary and Florida made that deal? I have the famous tweet that went in the Hall of Fame, unfortunately for the wrong reasons, but saying, I can't remember the last time such a lopsided deal was made in the NHL, and I liked it in favor of Calgary, and I mean, Florida hoisted the cup the other day. So, like, I think the perception around a potential deal, if it does go down, I think will be grossly in favor of people pissed off about the return. I just feel that way.
Well, no matter what it's going to be, right? Because I think, especially when you look at it, in every single market, superstar players are overvalued than they are around in National Hockey League circles. I don't care who you are or what market you play in. If you're a guy that is an elite talent, you're going to be overvalued in your market by your fan base, no matter what, right? So other teams' opinions of you is going to be completely different of what the Joe Schmo says at home about his favorite players. So I think that no matter what, it could be a loose scenario for the Maple Leafs, even if they do get rid of Mitch Marner. But the return, you know, if in fact a trade does happen, it's going to be an incredible return. And I think that the Toronto Maple Leafs, you know, if you're done on it and if it's something that you definitely are exploring, you got to go and pull that trigger if you can.
I would never underestimate the Vegas Golden Knights. We are here in Vegas. We are here at Stadium Swim, man. It just, people want to go there, man. Talking to a lot of players around the league, and they're not afraid to get busy and do something nobody expects. And my prognostication is somebody, doesn't have to be Vegas, could be Columbus, could be anybody for that matter, could be the New York Rangers, Jim Dolan, Sphere. I think somebody's going to do something that comes out of nowhere tonight.
Yeah, I do too. I really do. I think that, you know, there's been a lot of talk about drafts in the past and nothing's really happened. You know, you go back to the draft in Vancouver where JT Miller was traded, and I know JT Miller's now turned into the player that he is, but then it was in the second round. It wasn't really that big of a deal, right? But I think when you look at it, you know, it's in Vegas. It's the last in-person draft.
You get horned up, man.
Yeah, everyone does. It's in this sphere, you know. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. Everyone's excited. GMs are excited. There's a lot of chatter. So you hope you see something wild, but you never really know.
You've had a chance to broadcast from Vegas countless times since the NHL came in, man. I can't remember the last time the league has hit this out of the park. Like, honestly, just coming to Vegas, and I know we've been here, you know, together a billion times, but like, it's like you still get that like eagerness to be here. And I think the Golden Knights have done a great job, even setting up, you know, on location here at Stadium Swim. They've just done a fantastic job with this whole Vegas franchise.
Yeah, your location's sick.
I know.
I jump in the water after here. No, but I think, look, I mean, it's Vegas.
Yeah, I know.
Right? That's just the number one thing is it's Vegas.
Yeah.
So you do that. You have the big events. The city is capable of hosting it. There's hotels everywhere. And I think that, you know, just from a hockey perspective, you look at the no tax. Players want to come here. 7 million in Vegas is 9 elsewhere.
Yeah.
Right? You keep your money. Other than it being hot as hell out here, I think it's a really good place to play. The fan base absolutely loves their team. It does help when you win. And the Vegas Golden Knights, you know, in their first year made it to the Cup final. And then I think when you look at it, obviously hoisting the Stanley Cup last season was an incredible feat for them. But they're a team that's definitely going to be in the mix on everyone because they have to stay competitive. Yeah. And, you know, this is a city where you can definitely host a lot of events, and that's why the NHL loves it so much.
Is there a couple of teams that you're looking at through the course of the next couple of days that are going to look to get busy? Naturally, New Jersey has stepped up. I've been laughing for the couple of days now. Sheldon Keefe. Sounds like Brett Pesce's going to go there, New Jersey native or close by. They got Markstrom, man. Again, we'll get to our Bet365 segment in mere moments, but if I'm taking a future on somebody to win the Cup next year, it's probably Jersey, outside of the Leafs, of course. Got to say that on this podcast. And number 2, Jack Adams, Sheldon Keefe. Like, the Devils are a team that have been busy early on, too.
Yeah, the Devils have a lot of talent, right? Yeah. Is coaching going to be the thing that, you know, pushes them over the edge? You know, they got rid of Lindy Ruff. Travis Green was the interim head coach there. And then, you know, they got a goalie now. Actually, they have 2, to be completely honest. Yeah. So, depending on what the workload is, obviously Markstrom's going to take the brunt of that. But over the next couple of days, look, I'm interested in Vancouver, obviously, because that's where I'm from. And, you know, they're interesting, to say the least, as to how they want to go and improve their team. The Leafs, too, right? You mentioned it, the Marner news. And they're the Toronto Maple Leafs. Yeah. Chicago is going to be an interesting team. Utah, too, to me, because they're a team that has to make a splash. Like, they got to do something, right? Yeah. Whether it's to interest their fans, whether it's to just to go and show that, you know, we're here and we mean business.
Yeah. Shout out to Greeny as well. Travis Green, former Leaf, now with the Ottawa Senators. He got himself a goalie. I mean, imagine being a coach in this league and you're like, I got a guy. Yeah. I got a guy.
Yeah. You know? He's excited. And I think that, you know, it's an exciting time for him too, right? Like, that team's young, just like the Devils were. Their trajectory to win is, you know, heading in the right direction. They got a guy, Brady Tkachuk. I don't really know what's going to happen with, all the trade rumors around Thomas Chabot and obviously guys like Jacob Chychrun. But, I've known Travis for a long time, and I believe he's a very good coach. I think players that have played for him say they like his style. So I'm interested to see kind of what happens there.
It's time for the last call, brought to you by Bet365. Open an account with Bet365 today and bet on a huge range of markets. So whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Anything specifically NHL-wise you're looking at over the next couple days, betting-wise? We know Celebrini's going first overall. Do you like any futures tickets, anything like that?
I don't know. I didn't really look too much. I think when I did Rink Wide with Jeff a couple days ago, we did a podcast. I think we looked at team for Steven Stamkos to land on.
Nice.
I think that's there.
You think he leaves?
No, well, I think the Leafs are definitely high up there.
You think so?
But I think like odds of teams now are going to start to change a little bit, especially with the news today being like, this relationship might end.
I don't buy that.
You don't think so?
No.
I think the offer was low.
Yeah?
I really do.
It's negotiation 101, though.
Yeah, but still, it's Steven Stamkos.
Leak it out on draft day.
I don't know, man. It's Steven Stamkos. Like, you took care of Kucherov, you take care of Point, you take care of Vasilevsky, you take care of Sergachev. This guy's your captain.
I know.
Like, you drafted him. Like, he is, like, when you think of the Tampa Bay Lightning, you think of John Cooper, probably for the most part, and you think of Steven Stamkos.
Yeah.
Right? For sure.
Yeah.
So if it does end, it's going to, that one, when you look at a jersey, we mentioned Patrick Kane playing in a different jersey.
Yeah, it's
that
weird.
One's going to look weird. Stamkos in a different jersey?
My pick would be, honestly, I don't think the Leafs will be in there. He would have come a couple of years back. Detroit, man, I want to know what Steve Yzerman's doing. Wallman, I think he's a good player. Maybe they view him a bit differently. He's a good dancer, too. We've seen a couple times, the gritty.
Yeah.
Goes to San Jose. They've got like 32 million cap space. I know they got a couple guys to re-sign, but I think Detroit, never underestimate Stevie Y and obviously the allegiance to Stamkos, right?
100%. Well, I think that's a big one. You just look at the teams that have a boatload of money to spend. The Boston Bruins have a boatload of money to spend. I think they're going to
get a guy who played for Vancouver to finish the season.
Yeah, it might be interesting there to see what happens, to say the least. But, and I think that if you're not calling about Steven Stamkos after today's news, if you're a general manager, you're not doing your job, right? Is there a team out there that's going to offer him a 3 or 4 year deal at $6 or $7 million? Yeah. The Nashville Predators, a team that wants to do that to, help out that after that top line, right? Yeah. You looked in the playoffs against the Vancouver Canucks, they really only had one line. Yeah. Right. So beyond that, he's a guy that can definitely help them. Chicago would be an interesting one just because of, the Bedard tie in there and, help Stamkos kind of being there to help guide him and stuff like that. But yeah, there's a lot of teams that are interested. I know that you don't buy it and you think that he's going to remain a member of the Tampa Bay Lightning. I thought that for a really long time as well, until I kind of heard that, the offer might have been low, and then it probably pissed him off a little bit. So because of that, maybe there's been a change of heart a little bit.
You never know, and I think you bring up a good point that this started last summer and how the Stamkos camp feels about the entire negotiation process. Lastly, before we wrap up here, where can people find your awesome work?
Honestly, doing stuff on the Nation Network, Rink Wide Vancouver, Harrison Price, doing some fill-in stuff on Canucks Conversation here with the fourth period as well.
Yes, sir.
All over X now, I guess, doing some stuff. But
it's not
other than that, I'm not hard to find. I ain't trying to hide, bro.
Hit the clubs and we'll find you.
Nope.
Many thanks to Irfaan Gaffar. Everybody on scene here, first and foremost, the Circa crowd. Thank you so much for having us. Stadium Swim, what an electric atmosphere the last couple days. RJ on set, you're fucking unbelievable, dude. Great job. Almo Delic. Jay Rosehill popped by, obviously, today. Looking forward to see what the Leafs do. And can't forget producer Vic, my main man, back forth in Toronto, helping us out big time here. And everybody in the chat at the Leafs Nation 401, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Once again, we'll reconvene coming up on July 1st on Monday. We'll break down anything the Maple Leafs have done. But for now, we bid you farewell. For Irfaan Gaffar, I'm Nick Alberga. Take care, everybody. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.